Hi, I'm Amy from Mare Wellness and Myofascial Release. In our video today, we're going to talk about what I think is the number one movement that almost everybody 50 and over should be doing on a very regular basis. And that movement is getting down on the floor and back up again. And why is this so important? It's incredibly important because as we age, our risk for falls continues to increase. And when an older adult has a fall, there's frequently an injury that goes with it. And that injury leads to further deconditioning and further increased risk. So the act of getting down on the floor and back up again is not just great for our flexibility and for our creating strength, but also for our safety. So in this video, I'd like to talk about several different things, and one is variety. We need to think about variety of movement. We're often taught when getting down on the floor and back up again to use a piece of furniture, and that is a great place to start, but that can't be where it stops. Oftentimes people fall in places where there's no furniture or anybody else available. If you're out for a walk, for example, in an open area, there may not be anything to assist you back up. The other bigger problem is oftentimes people fall in their homes and they're falling in tight spaces. Like maybe they can't get up and get out of the tub, or they fall between the bed and a wall, or in a bathroom or a small bathroom where maybe they end up between some fixtures. So it's important to be able to move your body in lots of different ways to keep it safe so that you can get out of a tight spot if you need to, get up and get help. So that's one important consideration. The other is just getting down on the floor and back up again may not be a great place for you to start. You may not be quite ready for that. So I'm going to show you several exercises and movements that you can do to prepare your body for safely getting down on the floor and back up again. So you don't have to just do it in one full swipe. Okay, so the first movement we're going to work on is getting in and out of a chair. I strongly suggest that if you are using anything like a lift chair, an electric chair that lifts you up and helps lower you down, if you don't absolutely need that, don't use it. Challenge your body. If you don't continue to use the movement, you're going to lose the movement. So I'm going to turn my chair sideways so that you can see a little bit more. If you notice that when you go to sit in the chair or lower yourself down to the chair that you plop, then you are experiencing some weakness in your lower body. And I'll just demonstrate that for you. So if you come lowering down, and then you plop into the chair like that, you've got some weakness and you definitely need to begin some strengthening for your lower body. So I suggest starting with any chair that you have in your home. And if you find yourself plopping in that chair, find a way to prop it up to meet exactly where you're at for your strength. So let's take this cushion for example. So if you know that you're plopping right about here, then you need to find something that sets up about that high so that you can lower down and control it the whole way down and control it back up. And as soon as you find a place where you can meet it, control it, and you can do several repetitions. And by several repetitions, I would love to see people do 25 to 50 repetitions per day to keep the strength in their hips. And maybe you can't do it every day, but several times a week would be incredible. So once you get to this level, then find something a little bit lower and then start lowering down to that level and back up. Okay, let's talk about a few details to that movement. I'm going to turn my chair yet again. Some details to that movement are, one, have your feet pointing straight forward and have your knees moving in the same line as your feet. So if you're getting up and down and you find that your knees fall in towards each other, work on keeping them apart. This falling in creates instability, it creates misalignment in the knees. Keeping them apart in line with your hips and over your ankles when you do that movement up and down. The other detail I want you to think about is feeling the weight in your heels and creating a movement so you're not using any momentum. So I'm feeling the weight in my heels, I'm slowly bringing my body forward and pushing up through my heels. I don't want to throw my body forward and create momentum to get up. I want to use strength in my lower body to do that movement. Okay, so nice and slow, feeling it in the heels, lowering it down, slow back up, bringing the upper body forward until you can push up through the heels into a standing position and then back down again. Eventually you'll be ready for the next phase of creating strength and range of motion in your hips, knees, ankles, and feet. And the best way to do that, or one of the best ways to do that, is at a doorway. So find a doorway where you've got good strong doorknobs and make sure you've got enough grip strength to really hold on to these. Now you're not going to be really holding on or pulling hard on the doorknobs. They're primarily there to provide a little bit of gentle support and balance. So holding on to the doorknobs and taking a step back, that's about arm's distance, and think about going into that squat motion leading with your tailbone. Also think about the weight is in the heels of the feet and the knees stay apart from each other, kind of about hip distance. And you're slowly going to lower down, again, tailbone leading, feeling the weight come down through the heels, just using the arms for light support, going down as low as you can and pushing back up. And continually increasing your depth and your repetitions. But you want to go slow. These movements don't need to be fast. It's not about getting in lots of repetitions. It's more about control and feeling the motion in your body. So repetitions, nice and slow, focusing on that alignment, and then eventually working your way into a really low knee bend, low squat, pushing yourself back up again. And that's going to be really challenging for some people, but it is possible for your body to change at pretty much any age. Now eventually you want to be able to get all the way down into a flat foot position, but that takes a lot of range of motion on your ankles, but you can get there. And then rocking forward onto your toes, back onto your heels, onto your toes, and then you can use your arms to help you, but eventually see if you can just have a really light hold and do that mostly with the strength in your core and your hips. As this motion will be very important in the process of getting up and down. So once you've done a few repetitions of that, then you can push yourself back up from your heels or up on your toes. Think about that, the hips leading that motion again, pressing all the way up to a standing position. And that's your next step. Another important step in the process is floor work. The hardest part for most people when getting down on the floor and back up again is moving their body on the floor. And that initial process of getting into the right position in order to get into an upward moving position. So again, the key, if I haven't emphasized it enough, is variety of moving your body and getting lots of range of motion and strength into the hips, knees, and ankles. So thinking of many different ways that you can sit. And if this is kind of how your body initially lands, then changing that up. Moving into lots of different kinds of positions, again, with the hips, with the lower body. You can use your hands to support you as you move, and then eventually trying to move without the support of your hands into all these different seated positions. Lots and lots of variety. And you don't have to move fast, you can move very slow. And then once you've been in different seated positions, think about moving from a almost laid down position into seated positions and reaching through those positions. So reaching in lots of different directions. Creating more mobility in the hips, the lower body, but also the rib cage and the upper body as well. So lots of different positions. Just being creative in your movement. Now the next step is going from the seated position to a kneeling position. That really requires more strength in the core and the hips. So it might be as simple as going from a side sitting position up into a kneeling position. And then moving a little bit more up into that kneeling position. Lots of different positions, seated positions. Not that this is necessarily the best way for you to get up from that seated position, but it's another option. And we want as many options as possible when it comes to being able to get up and get ourselves safe. Okay, so lots of variety there as well. I also want to cover a way to get yourself from, if you are in a position where you're seated on your backside and you want to turn over, because that's likely a way that's going to create more stability to get up. So if you are on your back on all fours, then think about the right foot coming behind the left foot, and then the left hand coming over to bring you into that all fours position. And you can do the opposite coming back. So bring the right foot under, the left hand goes back. And then you can do the same thing going the other direction depending on which direction you might want to move because of the spot that you're in. So the left foot goes under, the right hand comes across, bringing you into that all fours position. And this is often the better position to push yourself into to get up in a more stable position. So if you're trying to get up this way, it's often a lot more cumbersome to try to do that. This is a lot more safe and stable. The final phase is actually putting the whole motion together. And there's a variety of ways of doing it, but when you first go to do the full motion, use a piece of furniture to help you. And again, lots and lots and lots of variety. So slowly working yourself down into an all fours position, and then using those strategies to get yourself all the way down. Once you're in a total down on the ground position, moving your body into lots of different positions. So if you did get into a place where you are in a little bit of a tighter spot and you need to get yourself out, you could do those small movements in order to adjust your body into different positions in order to get up. So there isn't necessarily a one perfect way to do it. There's lots of different ways, but again, variety is the key. Getting down on the ground in lots of different positions, again, turning your body, practicing different ways of pushing up and coming up to that standing position. And if at first you need your chair, by all means, use it. Okay, so this video took you through several different exercises to prepare your body for that number one exercise most of us really need to be doing on a regular basis, getting down on the floor and back up again. If you feel like this is something that you need and you need a little bit of extra help, I work with clients one-on-one. I teach small groups and I teach some bigger classes as well. If that's something that you're interested in, you can check out my website, marewellness.com, or you can email me at marewellness@gmail.com. Thank you.